Hello, I'm Muriel, and I love true crime.
My name is Nick, and I am not a fan.
Thank you for joining us. Each week, I force Nick to listen to me tell him a story of a true crime. Welcome to Muriel's Murders.
Here we go.
This week, we bring you part one of our two-part series on the Sun Gym Gang. Do you like bodybuilding culture? Do you like terribly planned, elaborate schemes that escalate past the point of all expectation? Do you like Florida man stories? Then buckle up, sweetheart. Here comes your Christmas present.
Santa coming early.
Ho, ho, ho. All right, for this... For this,
We're back, baby.
We're back, baby.
We're back. We're back. Let the podcast begin.
For this episode, we used Pete Cullen's 1999 three-part series for the Miami New Times called Pain and Gain. Pain and Gain. This is like the authority on this story, this guy.
Is it called Pain and Gain? Pain and Gain?
No. I said Pain and Gang the first time. So then I corrected myself.
The Pain Gang. Okay.
Well, thank
Sorry.
you for all that. I really appreciate it. You quit shaking the table.
Okay. I'm zoned in.
All right, great. Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way.
What?
You're going to have to actually really pay attention to this. It does get a little complicated, like mafia style complicated. So there's a lot of names.
Okay,
So
good.
dial in. When I say handful of teeth, I
Yeah.
mean just a few teeth. Remember people's names. All right. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so that just so our listeners, you guys can zone out.
No,
but I won't. I will pay attention so you don't have to.
You're the voice of the people.
I know. So I will reiterate things back in a very succinct way. So when you say handful of teeth, I will say, how many teeth was he holding?
And we'll catch you early.
You'll say, I'm just saying he only had a few teeth in his mouth. And I'll say, but how many were in the hand?
No, that's not.
How many was he holding?
That's not how I want this to go. I just want you to pay attention. Don't interrupt me with dumb questions. That's the whole point of this.
Yeah, okay. Got it.
Joey.
I'm only smart questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
or
that
clarifying questions.
Clarifying questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Pain Gang. Here we go. Is it time for me to thank our wonderful listeners?
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
love you guys. Shout out to Jesse, Cappy, Lisa, and Deborah S. for hitting up that Patreon. We've got so many exclusive episodes. We have absolutely zero ads running on our podcast.
Yeah, how great is that?
So if you think that what we do is worth a damn, then, sign up on patreon.com/murielsmurders. Or if you hate Patreon but you want to give us money, we got a link in the show notes. You can just give us money, man. Just donate to us. We'll take it.
Ho, ho, ho.
We also, you can also get all of our exclusive episodes through Spotify, if that's a better thing for your life. And if you want to support our show, but are just like, are you kidding me? I'm not giving you money. Like money for a podcast in this economy, then
thanks.
you can hit share, you can hit like, you can review us. All those things do help the show. And
Send it to people you like.
Yeah.
Send it to people you hate.
And
do anything you want.
Yeah, post about us on Reddit, man. Every once in a while, Muriel's like, oh my God, someone said something about us on Reddit. And that's good for us also. So all those things really help the show. We love you for it.
All right, this is a story involving murder, violence, drugs, definitely adult themes, etc. So if any listeners are like Nick and they don't want to hear about those kind of things, please consider listening to a different podcast.
We do joke, we do curse, we do ignore what's going on in the world. This is our, escapist thing. So if those things sound bad to you, then turn us off and go listen to the news or whatever.
Okay, Nikki, are you ready to hear this story?
No.
Okay, let's get started. Okay, it's mid-December 1994 in Miami, Florida. This is the time and place snowbirds come to escape winter. In December, brutal Miami summer heat is just a memory, and thick humidity, hurricanes, and clouds of bugs give way to perfect beach weather just in time for Christmas. Well, most Miami Decembers play out that way, but not in the case of 1994. In the year our story takes place, December beach days were interrupted. Odd thunderstorms kept rolling through town, culminating in a catastrophic late season hurricane, Hurricane Gordon. On December 16th, weeks after the devastation of Gordon, a blanket of fog hung in the air, obscuring the palm trees outside private investigator Ed Du Bois's office.
Ooh, a private investigator.
And
I love it.
with the weird weather came a weird-ass phone call. Ed Du Bois had spent his life running Investigators, Inc., the same firm his former FBI agent father had started years earlier. Now, Ed's biggest gig was security consulting for the NFL in South Florida. Ed Du Bois was ramping up for a particularly busy season. The 1995 Super Bowl was going to be held in Miami that year, and the big game was just a couple months away. Also, in addition to football stuff, Ed worked really closely with Miami-Dade County law enforcement and federal agents in the area as like an outside contractor. So he was a very highly regarded, respected private investigator. So it wasn't strange for law enforcement or an occasional lawyer to call him about a case. But on that foggy December day, Ed Du Bois was contacted with a particularly wacky case. A lawyer Du Bois knew called saying that he had a client in hot water who wanted to hire Du Bois for security. Now, the client had been admitted to the Jackson Memorial Hospital as a John Doe. He was found raging drunk and horrifically injured on the ground near his vehicle. Now, apparently, he had crashed the vehicle into a utility pole and had escaped moments before it burst into flames. The man had a shattered pelvis and a ruptured bladder, among other injuries, but survived emergency surgery and was up and talking. Doctors, police, and even his lawyer did not know what to make of this guy's story. It was something about being kidnapped by bodybuilders on the night Hurricane Gordon made landfall, and then being tortured for weeks on end in a dank warehouse. Now, police thought he was making the whole thing up to get out of drunk driving charges, but the guy was adamant, terrified, and extremely paranoid. So his lawyer was stumped. He knew Du Bois, so he called Du Bois and asked him to just have a chat with the guy to see what Du Bois thought about the whole thing. So Du Bois had been contacted by weirdos before. Like he'd picked up those cases. For instance, there was the man who claimed he was being electrocuted randomly by evil space aliens and needed help and protection. So he walked into Du Bois's office and was like, "Help me."
Oh, I would hate that. I would hate it if it was real. I would also hate it if that was my paranoia.
Yeah.
Because being electrocuted is just the worst thing in the world.
You've never been electrocuted.
Every time I've been a little bit electrocuted, I'm like, nothing could be worse than this. Nothing could be worse than this magnified. And if it was space aliens doing it, that would be extra horrible.
And it's random. So, Du Bois runs security. That's a big part of it. So he came and he's like, I need security from these space aliens. And Du Bois solved that case by telling the man to push thumbtacks into the soles of his shoes to ground himself. And the man left a satisfied customer, no longer plagued by aliens. So he knows how to play the game. What?
That's a good business tactic on his part, not to alienate him.
Yeah,
but
alienate
just be like,
him.
Dude, I know. Okay. And you pay attention, Muriel. I'm saying something smart here. Okay. That's a good thing. You take your weirdos in, you say, put thumbtacks in your shoes. And but also, if that ever happens to me, I'm putting thumbtacks in my shoes.
Yeah. I think it sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
So Ed figured, okay, fine. I'm going to take a crack at this weird DUI case. And he agreed to take a phone call from this mangled drunk driver. So the man was a Miami businessman. He worked in accounting and he owned a few small businesses, including a deli. And he claimed he had absolutely no memory of his accident, no memory of the events leading up to the accident, and no memory of being admitted to the hospital. But he said he had a crystal clear memory of the weeks before his accident. The man claimed he had been abducted a month earlier in the parking lot of the Schlotsky's Deli franchise that he owned by a gang of bodybuilders. That over the course of about a month, he'd been tortured into handing over all his financial information. His family, his wife and kids had been forced to flee to Colombia. And he was sure these bodybuilder guys tried to kill him. That's what this whole drunken accident was about. That's how he got drunk. And they botched it somehow. And he was terrified that they were going to come find him in the hospital and finish him off.
Okay. All right.
So to Du Bois, the story sounded legit to a certain extent, but he didn't think this Miami businessman was innocent in all this. To Du Bois, the situation sounded like some high-level drug thing gone sideways. Like probably this guy was mixed up in drugs, maybe with ties to a Colombian gang.
Yeah, it's Miami 1994. It's weird if you're not mixed up in drugs.
Kinda, right? That's like the vibe.
I mean, that's going to be my stereotype, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, so he's saying maybe this guy owed money to the wrong people and he got a Miami drug lord style ass beating. Mm-hmm. There were a few odd things about the situation though. Like usually drug kingpins didn't like report their druggy business to police and hire civil attorneys to get back at their druggy pals. Like they tended to sort those things out amongst themselves. Mm-hmm. And also, from what this businessman was describing, it seemed insane that his captors let him live. Like, very atypical for this type of situation.
Well, also, if it's a gang of bodybuilders that are just, I mean, you know, it's not like you got captured by, you know, a bunch of elderly people or something.
Well, yeah, right. Totally, right.
Anyways.
And in Miami, drug lords with Colombian connections and torture warehouses, you know, they were pretty good at killing people. Like, it just really didn't seem like he would have escaped that unscathed. So Du Bois, he didn't want to get involved. He felt it was way too messy. He couldn't get a beat on what was going on. So he declined the man's request for security. But he did give the guy some advice. He's like, you know, if your story is true, you need to get out of Miami. Because it is a very real possibility that, you know, this guy and then any security he might try and hire would be murdered in his hospital room. He said, you know, Godfather style, right, assassination. He's based on what he knows about situations kind of like this. This is a very real possibility for you. So the next morning, the businessman checked out of Jackson Memorial Hospital against his doctor's advice and paid $6,000 for a medical evacuation flight to his sister's house on Long Island in New York. And it was just in time, too, because a pack of steroid-addled bodybuilders had been roaming the halls of the hospital looking for him. They were just too confused by the layout of the hospital to find his room.
They're too raging, man. You know?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm just going to let you know, it doesn't matter to me at all, but your elbows on the table are shaking the shit out of my camera. So just be aware.
I was trying to be so still, too.
What was
I doing?
Yeah, okay. Just that, yeah. I
elbows
understand.
off the table. Table manners. My mother taught me that.
You know what?
What?
Your mom taught you a lot of things, and that's why you're so cute.
Yeah. Okay, good.
All right, so this whole thing pretty much started. We're going back, way back, Muriel's Murder style, with this guy, John Carl Macy. He was born and raised in Texas. He was just a regular dude with a head for numbers. Now, Johnny Macy grew up and headed to college in the 1950s. He went to Texas A&M to study accounting. And while he was there, he fell in love with pumping iron. Specifically, the art of bodybuilding. Now, we're not talking about like powerlifting or like whatever, right? We're talking about sculpting muscles to be aesthetically pleasing.
Correct.
Right? Rippling, oil slick, tan men in bikini underwear type of stuff.
Right. Who are posing for cheering groups of other men being like, damn, that guy fucking rules.
Yeah, rippling, spraying sweat off.
Well, we watched that great Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary, but didn't we also do that for an episode?
We did. It was a different bodybuilding couple, and I believe that they were in Florida, or no, they were in California. But man.
So like, if any listeners are like Nick, and you have to listen to Muriel talk every time she opens her mouth, you might vaguely remember what we were saying.
Pumping Iron, the documentary.
Yeah.
Listen and remember.
Yeah, it's not about being strong. It's about sculpting your body like it's a piece of art.
Exactly. Right. After graduating, Macy joined the Air Force, and while he was stationed in England, he competed in bodybuilding competitions and won the title of Mr. Britain in 1962. And in 1963...
Wait, the guy from Texas?
Yeah, apparently anybody can join. You don't have to be British to win Mr. Britain.
That's hilarious. He's like, I can beat those guys.
And then in 1963, he was accepted into the Mr. America contest, big contest. But the Air Force told him to cut it out. And they wouldn't grant him leave to compete. They were like, dude, just be in the Air Force.
Oh, I think the other couple was in the military, weren't they?
They were, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of parallels.
Also, this is maybe is dumb, but I just want to say it. It's like you have to be strong to be a bodybuilder, but the point is that the competition is not who can lift the most weights or anything like that. It's literally who can pose their muscles in the most like
aesthetically
pleasing way or whatever. With the and like to be extreme also, like the biggest champions are also literally the biggest people. Like it is about extreme muscles, but
it's also about like dehydrating yourself and like popping. You know, it's like you want like your
trapezoids
muscles like pop out like a crazy Elizabethan collar.
Right.
You
and
know?
Not because people are watching you lift weights. It's because they're watching you flex your body.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
That's not dumb. That's very smart. You remember what I say, so don't try to act like you don't. All right. So Johnny Macy kept building his body and his accounting career over the years. In 1970, he founded the successful accounting firm Macy and Associates in Miami, Florida. And, you know, he was really great at his job. He occasionally taught accounting theory at local colleges. He was very successful. But while Macy built his practical, comfortable life, his bodybuilding dreams teased him at the edges. And by the end of the 1970s, Arnold Schwarzenegger was haunting him. Now, like we said, we talked about this on the pod before. 1977, the documentary Pumping Iron was released, and it shone a spotlight on these muscly careers of bodybuilding greats like Arnold and like Lou Ferrigno. How do you say it?
Ferrigno? I can't remember. Yeah.
I also might be mispronouncing Macy. I don't really know how to Google that.
Okay.
So bodybuilding exploded in popularity after that 1977 documentary, and the 1970s and 1980s are considered the golden era of bodybuilding, and its nexus was Gold's Gym in Venice and Santa Monica in Southern California.
Correct.
So by 1987, Johnny Macy couldn't hold back any longer. This 50-year-old accountant may have missed his chance at being as big as Arnold, but by God, he was going to open a bodybuilding mecca in Florida. So, Johnny opened Sun Gym in January 1987 while still running day-to-day operations at his like full-ass accounting firm. Johnny Macy built up the gym and started promoting bodybuilding competitions. Sun Gym became the place where serious people got ripped and professional bodybuilders trained while competing in Miami.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why that's just a funny thing to say. Serious people got ripped. I feel like that's just a hilarious tagline. We're serious about getting ripped.
Serious about getting ripped. But just 5 years later, Johnny was flailing. No longer the svelte Adonis. He was middle-aged with a pink, thick sun and wind-blown face. His little eyes wedged in above a solid pair of jowls and a double chin. The only thing hard about his body was his stiff, white, flat-top haircut.
That's writing. There you go.
Thank you. I got that. That was my description of his mugshot.
Yeah, that's great.
So creative. All right. The Sun Gym was a succubus. He dumped so much time into running it. He'd lost his business partner at the accounting firm as well as a bunch of clients. And even with all that dedication, the gym was just failing. Now, first off, it turned out Sun Gym was a little too intense for normal people. It was intended to be a place for hardcore athletes and professional bodybuilders to do steroids in the bathroom and then go lift an inhuman amount of weights, okay?
And then wear the teeniest bikinis and have the average, just have like weird random subsect of men cheer for you in pretty hilariously small, non-glamorous gymnasiums. That was like the funniest thing about Arnold's like rise to fame is like the circuit to win that is just like at the like local community center.
Yeah, it's definitely not. It gets glamorous now, but it definitely was not glamorous.
Yeah.
And to make everything worse, right? The famous Gold's. Oh, sorry. This is what I skipped a line because we were so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, the point is there weren't enough wild-eyed gym nuts to fill the place up, and the vibe of the gym freaked normies out. And to make it worse, the famous Gold's Gym had opened locations in Miami. And not only did they have this red-hot name brand recognition, Gold's was like way more chill and less scary. Sun Gym was like where the bad guys from Revenge of the Nerds like pumped iron in each other's faces, and Gold's was like where you went to like yank around on some equipment and make some friends.
Remember the gym in Love Lies Bleeding, which was one of the best movies of the last few years? But it was like that was like, oh damn, it's like going down in there.
Yeah, totally.
Like they'll beat your ass if you're wrong about something or whatever.
Yeah, that was such a good movie.
Yeah.
So naturally Sun Gym was like losing clients hand over fist to Gold's Gym, and their memberships were in decline. Also, Macy was a smart guy, but he was also a meathead, a brilliant accountant, but kind of medium dumb when it came to hiring people to work at the gym. Like one Sun Gym manager that he hired disappeared completely after working for a few months. Word was he got arrested with a trunk full of cocaine while driving through Louisiana.
Cool.
Anyway, they never saw that guy again. Johnny also hired an ex-cop and karate instructor nicknamed the Hulk to manage the place. That guy quit. And then in 1991, he was convicted of executing 3 drug dealers out in the Everglades and stealing all their cocaine. Johnny complained about that. Story is really crazy.
Was that the one where... Wait. Okay, never mind. What do you know about that story? Is that the guy that like ends up being the last known person to be in the cell with Epstein or something?
Oh, man. If that's true, then I might have to do that for the Patreon instead of the one I have planned. I'll look into it.
Someone sent us a like a TikTok video or something, and I feel like anyways.
I mean, he's in jail right now in Florida. I don't know where. I thought Epstein was being held in New York. I don't really know. I'm gonna look it up.
Anyways,
because I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
How'd you come across this story?
Sun Gym?
Yeah.
When I was doing the other bodybuilding thing, it just came up because they were like,
yeah, right.
At the time, there was just this other group of crazy people doing crazy stuff. So like, it was in passing, and then I wrote it down, but it was too soon to do it. I didn't want to do like a series of bodybuilders.
Was that the guy that executed those people? Was he also a cop or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look it up.
I think that might be the same guy that was like had some crazy connection with Epstein.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah,
because
anyways.
the story is actually really crazy. I got part of the reason why this took me so long to write is because I started reading about that other story. And I wasn't even going to write about it.
Okay.
Johnny also complained like, oh, my employees are stealing from me. And he had at least one employee quit claiming that Johnny had been the one stealing from people. So it's just kind of messy.
Sure.
So by 1992, you can imagine Johnny Macy was ready to give up on the gym thing. But then came Danny Lugo. Daniel Lugo is a big boy, 30-year-old bodybuilder, 6'2" and 230 pounds of pure muscle. He moved from New York City to Miami in 1988 to soak up some rays, inject some steroids, and pump some iron. Now, he had a thick neck, a small, weak chin, pouty lips, and a voice like Mike Tyson with lisp and everything.
Oh, damn.
Danny was
he white? What was his ethnicity?
I think he was Latino.
It's just funny to think
or
of.
Maybe Italian.
It's just funny to think of Mike Tyson, like the fill in the blank race version of Mike Tyson. Like, oh, he's like the white Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
like,
right.
He's like the Latino Mike Tyson. Like, there is no version of that that's not funny.
Well, he's not. I don't think he was this.
I just mean
look.
Yeah, I just mean muscular with a funny voice.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, it was very distinctive too. Like people were like, "Oh yeah, you can hear this guy coming before you see him." Okay. So Danny was packed with energy and charisma, and in his interview at Sun Gym was all gung ho, pitching ideas about how to improve things. You know, he promised he had the magic to increase memberships, and he had a vision for a Sun Gym empire, branded vitamins and clothes, and an in-house karate team.
Hell yeah.
And it made sense that Lugo was all packed with energy. He had just spent the last 15 months cooped up in a federal prison. Danny Lugo's crooked ass had been scamming people from Oklahoma to Florida. So the way I understand it, the fraud scheme went down like this. So startup business owners who were in the shit and needed fast cash to stay afloat, and who for some reason or another didn't qualify for traditional loans, they used to post ads in just like newspapers, the print kind, essentially seeking venture capitalists, like investors willing to take on a risky investment for a potentially very high return. So Lugo would collect these ads, and then he would respond to the ads with a fake identity and claim to be a representative of a Hong Kong bank that was also entirely fake. And you know, he said, oh, you know, we're really interested in investing in American companies. And all they required to get started were just some fees to set up insurance through Lloyd's of London, just to make sure that their investment was safe. So the desperate businessmen would hand over the money up front for these fees, and then Danny would yoink the cash and then disappear. Mm. He got around $230,000 out of the scam in Oklahoma and like $71,000 in Florida before he was caught in May of 1990. Now, he admitted the Oklahoma fraud in exchange for a plea deal, and he got just over a year in prison, had to pay restitution to his Florida victims, and he was put on federal probation for 3 years. So in his statement to the court, he said in part, quote, "It will never happen again, for I have learned not to use intelligence for wrong actions to justify the good end." Like, if you're a judge, you're like, this man is going to do that again.
That's so funny to blame intelligence. He's like, yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to use my powers for evil.
Well, I think in the court, too, like, he actually did get into Fordham University, which is a good university, but then he dropped out. But then he was like, oh, I'm a graduate of Fordham with this, like, you know, he's got this interesting thing where I think that there's a lot of like, he was intelligent in some regard, but then also, like, such a scammer. It's like he's very creative. I don't know. We'll get into it. But he has this reputation among the other bodybuilders for being like so smart, like brilliant businessman, a mind for business.
Yeah, I mean, because that's the scammer's ultimate skill is to make people think they're smart. Like that was the whole Epstein thing, right? They're like, he's so charming and he's so like intelligent and smart. And then all those emails came out and he just like can't spell. And he's just he just sounds like a dog sort of like barking at itself in like a reflection of a shit pond or something. Like he's literally not smart, you know, but people are like, oh man, he really charmed his way up the ladder.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's not, that's really funny. Dog. What did you say? Well, we don't need to get into it, but that was a very funny metaphor.
Well, thanks for not laughing.
I did laugh.
No, you didn't. You just, every time I do anything smart, you go, that was funny.
Listen back. I totally laughed. I cannot believe you're saying
You know,
that.
I just am not going to use my intelligence in this kind of powerful way anymore. I'm retiring my intelligence.
Well, also this guy, anyway, getting back to the story, this guy, Danny Lugo, he did get away with scamming $230,000 in like 1990 money. That's like
he did good.
Money,
it's like good to scam people.
Yeah.
I mean, good on him for getting his goal or
he
whatever.
did his goal, and then he like got a plea deal and just like didn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, after his release from prison, Danny Lugo met this guy, Adrian Doorball. So Danny's new best friend forever, Adrian, had recently moved to Miami from Trinidad. He was shorter and prettier than Lugo, a heart-shaped face with high cheekbones, gorgeous bronze skin, and like long black jerry curl that hung halfway down his back. And Adrian, of course, is also a very serious bodybuilder.
Yeah.
He started out in Miami as a fry cook at this Mexican joint, but pretty soon the pair started getting gigs as personal trainers and then also spent their downtime serving as each other's workout partners. So it was all beef all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Super serious people get ripped.
So Johnny Macy's instincts were firing on all cylinders, and he hired Danny Lugo to work at Sun Gym on the spot. The pitch was perfect. This guy had the vibes he wanted.
Yep.
Just got out of federal prison.
Perfect.
So pretty soon afterwards, Lugo then hired his BFF, Adrian, and the two started running scams out of the gym. Now, Lugo met another bodybuilder at Sun Gym who was also recently released from prison, and they put together a pretty spectacular Medicare scheme. So they created 10 fake companies and then bought stolen identities of dozens of real Medicare recipients, used their information to send bills to the government via their fake companies to get payouts. So by early 1994, Lugo was able to invest about $1 million into a Merrill Lynch mutual fund. And of course, because he was on the hook for all those restitution payments from his last scam, the account was created under his best friend forever, Adrian Doorball's name. So like all of a sudden this 24-year-old like guy from Trinidad who like had no work experience in the US had $1 million in a mutual fund account.
Great.
So, but it didn't set off any red flags. So they just kept trucking.
Like it's Miami. It's the 90s. Like it'd be weird if you didn't have that going for yourself.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So a couple years went by. Danny moved up in the Sun Gym world, and the summer of 1994 was golden time for Danny Lugo. Sun Gym was fully kitted out with like beastly workout equipment and all the amenities for hard bodies. They had a juice bar, on-site babysitting, and a robust selection of illegal steroids. And Danny Lugo was like a local celebrity. The face of the gym, big toothy smiles all around, a sought-after personal trainer, and the gatekeeper to coveted jobs at Sun Gym.
Sorry, how's her membership doing at this point?
Well, by the way, they were still just as broke as they were in 1992.
I love how they have babysitters. They're like, we got to get some women in here.
This is getting real awkward.
Yeah.
In 1994... Lugo was training this puny guy called Jorge Delgado. So this guy, Jorge, he was pale and thin with limp brown hair. Honestly, he looked like a grown-up, depressed version of Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle. But he was totally enthralled by Danny Lugo and sucked up into his orbit. Danny Lugo knew how to ask the right questions, right? He's a scheme fraudster, whatever. And pretty soon, Jorge Delgado was introducing Danny Lugo to his wealthy boss, Mark Schiller. So this is when we're starting to add a bunch of new characters. So if you get confused, just ask me, because I don't know if I wrote this in a non-confusing
It's okay.
way.
I'll be able to rise to the occasion and make sense out
It's
of your
more that
mess.
I'm feeling insecure.
Yeah,
not
it's okay.
because I think
I'm sure you didn't do a great job.
Why
and
are
I'll be,
you so
and I'll be here to make.
negative to me today?
I'm not. I'm literally not. I'm saying I will do.
You have to be nicer
I will
to
do
me.
the heavy lifting because I'm serious
If
and
you
I'm
don't,
ripped.
no. If you don't start being nicer to me, we're not continuing on. You'd be nice to me.
Okay, I love you, and you're doing a good job.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
So we're moving on
Okay.
to Mark Schiller. So
Okay.
right now we've got, Adrian Doorball,
Yeah.
the best friend forever with the back long curly hair.
Yeah, he's from Trinidad and has $1 million.
Yeah, but it doesn't belong to him.
Okay.
And then you have Danny Lugo, right?
Right.
Our main
Yeah,
steamer
he's
guy.
the white/Latino Mike Tyson.
And then they're like super, super close and
Yeah.
ripped. Like they look like monsters.
Great.
Okay. And now they're training these guys. So now they're picking up other people in their orbit. They're picking up this guy, Jorge Delgado. And this guy is just like super puny, but
Yeah.
like so into them.
Right.
And can afford training sessions.
Got it.
So he got enough money to afford personal training sessions because of this huge opportunity he got from his rich boss, Mark Schiller. So Mark Schiller, he was born in Argentina. He grew up in New York. He got a business degree and he worked in accounting before becoming a financial executive for an oil pipeline company in Colombia. This is all becomes important later. So Schiller met his wife, Diana, in Bogota in Colombia. And then in 1989, Schiller's boss at the pipeline company was kidnapped by a guerrilla group. So the pipeline company was owned by Americans, and this particular group targeted foreign-owned pipelines in Colombia. So the kidnapping and ransom of Schiller's boss got really, really hairy, and all U.S. employees were sent back to the U.S. They were all sent back home, including Schiller. So after that, the Schillers settled in Miami, where Mark Schiller worked as an accountant and started little businesses selling like nutritional supplements and running a franchise location of a Schlotsky's Deli. And
Do you know what Schlotsky's is?
no,
I haven't had it, but it's in Dallas. And I was like, what's up with Schlotsky's? And apparently it has a very particular like signature to their sandwiches. And I guess it's like on sourdough bread or something. And it's like a big, like everyone at One Tribe, either people like are down or people hate Schlotsky's.
really?
Yeah.
I've never even heard of it.
Yeah,
I didn't
it's
know it was
definitely
still
not in
around.
California or in like it's never been in. I mean, it's in. I only knew it as a Dallas Fort Worth thing, but
Oh, that's
apparently it's in Florida
interesting.
too. Anyways, okay,
Huh.
I want to go there.
It's like must be a Southern thing.
yeah,
I don't know. Actually, I have no idea.
I mean, it is as far as we know. It's in the
Florida
two
and
southern.
Texas.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So he's got this deli, and overall, with investments and his businesses, Mark Schiller had carved out a really nice, lucrative little life for himself and his family. So Jorge Delgado, he met Mark Schiller in 1991. Jorge was selling cars in Miami and quit his job with nothing lined up. Just catch me, I'm falling. And his wife, Linda Delgado, still had a job, but they were drowning financially. And Linda, as it so happened, worked for Mark Schiller at his accounting firm. So one day, Linda was talking to Schiller about how bad things were going in her life, how she and her husband were living with her parents, and they were broke. And Schiller decided to give the Delgados a shot and offered Jorge a job. So over time, Jorge Delgado worked his way up in Schiller's business dealings. They partnered on a few projects and they became very, very close friends. Jorge Delgado did really well working with Schiller. He made enough money to buy a nice big house. Linda didn't have to work anymore. It was brilliant. And then sometime in 1992, Jorge Delgado started working out at Sun Gym and hired Danny Lugo as his personal trainer. And Jorge Delgado thought Danny Lugo was awesome, cool, like a cool older guy, super buff. Everyone loved him. Chicks dug him. Lugo is the man. And starry-eyed, Jorge Delgado tried to hook Lugo up with some business ventures with Mark Schiller. But Mark Schiller took one look at Lugo and saw red flags all over the place. Yeah. He was like, Lugo is a snake. I don't want anything to do with him. Eventually, Jorge Delgado and Mark Schiller had this huge argument, this huge falling out. Jorge Delgado was like obsessively fangirling over Lugo and trying to jam job him into Schiller's financial dealings. And Schiller finally said, you know, man, It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, quit trying to make Lugo happen.
Right. You can either work with Lugo or you can work with me, but not both. I am not going to bring him into any of this.
Sure.
I don't want anything to do with that beefy weirdo, and he's obviously going to get you into some stupid trouble. So Jorge Delgado broke everything off with Mark Schiller and went running back to Danny Lugo. Now, after Schiller flat out rejected working with Lugo, both Danny Lugo and Jorge Delgado were super salty. And they spent their time pumping iron and hyping each other up about how much they hated Mark Schiller, how he was such a tool, da-da-da-da-da. And over time, they kind of started claiming, oh, actually, we don't like him because he stole from us. He stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from them, and they were going to make this little jerk pay. Now, there's no evidence that Mark Schiller did anything like that.
Okay.
It was kind of, it seems like it was more of like we need more justification for this. And like in my mind, I don't know, this is totally speculative conjecture, but like I kind of think maybe it might have sparked from like them thinking they would have made money if he had said yes to like bankrolling their ideas. So in a sense, he stole hundreds of thousands of dollars from them.
The way Hollywood has stolen millions of dollars from us for not like
Thank
making
you.
our movies already.
God damn.
You know?
So crazy.
Yeah.
So I think that to me, that would make sense as to like how they got to that, but I don't really know. So they're scheming, they're hating on Mark Schiller, they're talking about how he's such a jerk. Yeah. And in the process of this, Jorge Delgado confided in his new beefy best friend absolutely everything he knew about Mark Schiller, because Jorge Delgado was a trusted family friend and business partner for like a few years. He knew the security code to Schiller's house. He knew where the family kept their valuables. He knew where the Schiller's personal financial records were kept. He knew the bank Schiller used. And Jorge, turned out, was with Mark Schiller in the Cayman Islands when Mark Schiller set up an offshore account to hide, a pile of cash. So Jorge Delgado knew pretty much everything he needed to ruin Mark Schiller. And Danny Lugo was sitting in the weight room, rubbing his hands and licking his lips in anticipation of a big old payday. You can picture it now. In October 1994, Danny Lugo and Jorge Delgado had put together a foolproof plan to rob the crap out of Mark Schiller. But they needed to recruit a couple more guys to join the operation. And for that, Lugo pulled in his best friend forever, his real one, Adrian Doorbal, and tapped a couple of guys who lurked on the far edges of Danny Lugo's social circle at the Sun Gym. The two new guys were solidly B squad material, but Lugo knew they were desperate. So the first guy was Stevenson Pierre. Lugo had hired Stevenson Pierre back in February of 1994. Pierre had some experience working with credit card companies, and he was great at hunting down customers who failed to make payments on their credit cards. So Lugo wanted to try and create like an in-house collections agency for Sun Gym members who weren't paying their dues on time, but the two quickly bailed on that project because it was too expensive to do legally. But Lugo retained Pierre to kind of help around the office. Now, Pierre was not a big boy. He was about 5'5" and 130 pounds. He looked a little like a worried cartoon fish. So Lugo stuffed him in the way back behind a desk so he wouldn't ruin the Sun Gym vibe. Now, Stevenson Pierre also had his cousin's lame boyfriend living with him at the time. This guy was Carl Weeks. So Carl Weeks had more of a bad boy background. He was dishonorably discharged from the Marines after attacking his sergeant. He did some burgling and robbing. Over time, he had several kids with his girlfriend and then developed a crack addiction. So eventually,
just classic bad boy vibes.
Eventually, this guy Carl Weeks, boyfriend of Pierre's cousin, the female cousin,
Right.
the girlfriend,
Right.
just kind of got sick of him and sent him to Miami to live with Stevenson Pierre and get his life together. She's like, get out of here, figure something out, then come back to New York and support your kids.
Okay.
So earlier in the year, Pierre had brought Carl Weeks around some gym to meet everyone and ask Danny Lugo about getting Carl a job. Now, Weeks was also totally starstruck by Danny Lugo and the whole Sun Gym scene. He wanted to work with these cool meatballs so bad, but Carl Weeks was also physically puny like Pierre. So Lugo gave Carl Weeks a hard pass. He was like, I don't have any work for you. So months went on.
I love these dudes that think they're like alpha, and I know that word gets thrown around a lot or whatever, but they're like, I'm a leader, like I'm a natural born leader, and it's like, who are you leading?
But it's weird because people still follow. It's like very strange.
Yeah, I mean, followers follow.
Yeah,
but
right.
so therefore being a leader, like a quote unquote leader or like the boss that's like a laughable like title or thing to claim to me, because it's like, you can like you're gonna like you can find followers.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I get you. I hear what you're saying. I like you. Okay, so months went by. Sun Gym was just going into further and further financial decline. Stevenson Pierre was laid off and started working at a dry cleaners, and Carl Weeks remained unemployed. So by October 1994, they were both desperate for work when Danny Lugo called them into his office for a proposition. The office being just like kind of a random room he kept in one of his boss's, Johnny Meese's buildings. So it was like, come to my office. And then it's just like
he's like, technically it's on the lease, but it's not really in the floor plan, so no one knows that this closet is here. There's like no windows. I like it that way.
So when the B Squad showed up, Danny Lugo and Adrian Doorball were sitting in this random room in an office building, just buff and oiled up as ever. And, you know, Stevenson and Pierre and Carl Weeks took a seat and they got straight to it. Danny Lugo offered Carl and Pierre $100,000 for 2 days' work. That's a lot of money, right? And about twice that much in today's money. It's about over 200,000 in today's money. And Danny Lugo, he starts laying it on real hot and heavy. He's like, there's this absolute scumbag, Mark Schiller. He's this rich business guy who just loved parading around Miami, flaunting his wealth. Danny said this bastard stole $100,000 from him, $200,000 from his good friend, Jorge Delgado. Plus, get this, Jorge's wife was pregnant. So the Schiller guy was like such a monster. He was literally stealing from a baby. Danny Lugo told his B Squad guys that Mark Schiller was so evil and so morally bankrupt that the only thing Danny Lugo felt was fair was to rob Schiller. Not only of the $300,000 Lugo claims Schiller stole, Danny Lugo wanted to rob him of absolutely everything he owned to teach him a lesson. Lugo wanted Schiller's house, all his furniture and stuff, his cars, his luxury condo, the money in his offshore accounts, the money in his checking accounts, his deli, his dog. He wanted everything. And Lugo needed a crew to kidnap him, kick his ass until he confessed to stealing all this money, and then rob the shit out of him.
Yeah, it's like a Robin Hood situation.
Exactly.
Rob from the rich and give to the buff.
And give to the buff and yourself. All right.
That's what I mean.
Stevenson Pierre thought this whole scheme was like way over the top. And Carl Weeks was like, oh man, I literally came to Miami to stop doing stupid stuff. My girlfriend is going to kill me. But the money was too good. And Danny Lugo's charisma was too strong.
Yeah.
The gravitational pull of his rippling muscles sucked the B Squad in. At their next meeting, Jorge Delgado was there and they worked out the details of the plan all together. The Sun Gym Gang was formed. I titled this next section. So what's the plan?
Which is a Traitors reference.
It's just a super inside joke. It's the funniest thing on TV that I've ever seen for like reality TV. It's just oh, God.
Okay, so it's a show called it's a show called The Traitors. And anyways, this woman had been in this position of power and then chose to bring someone else into her position of secretive power
to like work together. And like typically when you do that, you're supposed to be the one who has like fully functioning plan as to what to do next and like all this kind of stuff.
So she brings this woman in, and so the woman is obviously like, okay, thanks for not killing me and getting me out of the game.
Yeah.
Like I'm now going to be your like henchman or whatever.
Yeah.
But instead the woman who had been in power the whole time just looks at her dead in the eyes with like all sincerities and goes, so what's the plan? and Kate's just like, aren't you supposed to have a plan? I just got here.
It just gets to her confessional and she's like, what are you talking about? Why did you bring me in if you don't have a plan? I don't have a plan. Anyway.
So what's the plan?
All right. So the crew consisted of the two super cool, roided out muscle men, Danny Lugo and Adrian Doorball, and the hapless B Squad guys, Stevenson Pierre and Carl Weeks, and the pale, skinny backstabber and information man, Jorge Delgado, kind of worked behind the scenes. He wasn't a part of the active, physical part of the plan. Mm-hmm. All right. So their first stop, the spy shop, of course. A shop owned by a born-again Christian guy where you could get all kinds of stuff to torture people and cause mischief, handcuffs, tasers, walkie-talkies, all while shopping under banners that say stuff like God is love. And then the men rented a van to survey and eventually kidnap Mark Schiller. So they were outfitted with state-of-the-art spy and abduction gear with mega mind Danny Lugo masterminding all the plans. And they went on to botch missions like they've never been botched before. So for the next few weeks, every attempted abduction was a spectacular vaudevillian failure. So first, they decided on a Halloween abduction. The full-grown men of various sizes were going to wear ninja costumes, pretend to be children, trick-or-treating, and grab Mark Schiller when he opened the door to give him candy.
I love it. It's like the reverse of the three kids on top of each other wearing a trench coat.
Exactly.
So the buff guys are like, all pretend to be three children.
So for some reason, they just didn't do this scheme. They lost their motivation on Halloween that night and went to a strip club instead.
Good choice. Now, see, oh my God, think about how much better this world would be if people just stopped their like kidnapping or abduction or murders and just went to the strip club instead.
Oh yeah, totally.
Always choose the strip club.
All right.
Okay.
So then they tried to kidnap Schiller on the freeway during rush hours. So they've been tailing him, recording his movements, and they thought they could get him in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Palmetto Expressway. But before they could get to him, Schiller got sick of the traffic and took a random exit off the freeway. It was like, nuts to this. This sucks. And then they were just stuck in traffic and had nothing to do.
Okay.
Then the gang tried a more elaborate plan. All right. So they wore all black outfits and camouflage makeup on their faces. And they snuck into Schiller's gated community early one November morning. They hid on Schiller's lawn in the rain under a big blanket, waiting for Schiller to come outside and pick up his newspaper. And the plan was to nab him in the yard with the blanket and then do a home invasion, kidnap the whole family, and go from there. But then, as they were lying in the wet grass under the blanket, a random car drove by Schiller's house, and the gang got spooked and ran away. The gang, all in all, had 6 failed kidnapping attempts in a row before Lugo took them to the Solid Gold strip club to raise their spirits once again, splashing out on drinks and lap dances.
Nice.
So November 14th was their 7th attempt and took place in the alley next to Schlotsky's Deli. Now, Schiller was at the deli doing some business, and their plan was for Lugo to block Schiller's car in from the front of the alley, and the B Squad, along with Adrian Doorball, to block Schiller in from behind in the alley, right? And then they would pull Schiller out of his car and whisk him away to rob and torture land. So Danny Lugo, he got into place blocking Schiller. And annoyed at the jerk-off blocking his way, Schiller gave a couple polite beeps and then just laid on the horn. So while Lugo is sitting behind the tinted windows of his Toyota Camry getting honked at by Schiller, his walkie-talkie crackled and a voice came through. Doorball and the B Squad couldn't get the van started. So eventually Schiller just stopped honking, backed out of the alley, and drove away. So this was kind of the last straw for Danny Lugo. He had given them gold, spy supplies, trips to the strip club, big brain, brilliant ideas, like the ninja costume thing, right? If they couldn't pull out the job with all Danny Lugo had given them, they didn't deserve a thing. You know, and then meanwhile, $100,000 for 2 days of work had turned to like $0 for like 4 weeks of work.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, Lugo was super pissed and he called a gang meeting. So
what's the plan?
They all gathered into Lugo's office for an announcement. Lugo told the gang he was totally over it. He wasn't going to do this stupid scheme anymore. He said his Medicare fraud scheme was going gangbusters. He had plenty of money. And if these dorks wanted to kidnap Schiller, they would have to do it without him. Also, no more strip club. They were cut off. Jerks.
Daddy's really putting the spank down.
But the gang wasn't deterred. They were fired up. Now more than ever, they wanted to rob this Schiller guy for some reason. So their first order of business was to drop poor Stevenson Pierre. Pierre had been acting all freaked out and mopey the entire time. So they just they're like, we can't use this guy anymore. We needed someone with juice. So the gang drove Pierre back to his house and left him there. And then they went off to find Big Mario Sanchez. So Big Mario was a Renaissance man, a 6'4", 270-pound monster of a man, a weightlifting instructor, private investigator, and bouncer at the local oyster bar. And the guys guessed that Big Mario was pretty broke. He'd been driving his Volkswagen Jetta on its little spare tire for a while. So he probably needed some cash. Plus, they knew Big Mario had a gun.
Okay.
So the gang wouldn't tell Big Mario the whole plan, just that they would pay him $1,000 to stand around looking mean for a couple hours. And they were right. Big Mario needed the cash. And while he thought the whole thing seemed underplanned and shady, it was Christmas time. He wanted to buy something for his kid. He was in. Question for you really quick. This keeps saying reconnected over and over again. Are we good?
Last time I did it, we were good. So we'll see about this time.
It's distracting.
It might be. So there's this.
Crap out of me.
This might be on YouTube or it might not, everyone. The audio is recording separately. So the
audio's okay.
The audio's fine.
Okay, great. I just want to make sure. I was like, this has been happening for about 30 minutes.
Yeah. We might have to pay for more than the worst internet.
Why is our life so hard? Just kidding. I mean, we should have done that a million years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
We have to. Unable to connect to the studio, and I'm not touching anything.
Okay, don't touch anything. Can you still see the camera up and running, or is it like shut out completely?
It's up and running. There's just a big thing over my face that says unable to connect to the studio. Reconnect. Exit studio.
Oh, I guess hit reconnect.
Last time I touched something, you got so mad.
Well, don't hit. We're going to try that. Okay.
All right. That seemed to have turned it off and reconnected me to the studio.
Great. Let's just keep going. Yeah, definitely. I mean, at this point, we're already an hour in. We're not starting over, that's for sure.
Well, also, this is such a good episode.
I know, it's amazing, and I'm being so nice to you about it.
I know, but it is pretty good. All right, so Big Mario's in.
Yeah, okay, good.
By November 1994, Mark Schiller's deli was going under.
What did you hit that time?
Now it wants me to join.
No, don't hit join. You didn't hit join, did you?
No, I haven't hit anything.
Okay, there's 3 little buttons off to the side. It says use a second camera.
Do I join the session now?
Did you hit use a second camera?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, try hitting it now.
Technology. We're back in, baby. Starting at the beginning.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, welcome to Muriel's Murders.
No,
I'm
stop,
Muriel, and I love true crime. I'm Nick, and I hate it. Okay.
By mid-November 1994, Mark Schiller's deli was going under. It wasn't really making much money, so he decided to finally let go of the Schlotzkys. On November 15th, Mark Schiller spent the day puttering around trying to get stuff together before the holidays. His family was going to Colombia for Hanukkah, so he had to get some stuff tied up before they left town. And in the late afternoon, he went to meet a potential buyer for the deli. So Schiller, he sat in the deli waiting, but the guy was really late. Plus, there was a huge late season hurricane coming in, Hurricane Gordon. And Schiller didn't want to get caught up in the weather. Mark Schiller finally had enough and decided to book it across the parking lot to his Jeep before the storm got bad. He popped the door open and was immediately attacked from behind by 3 men, each armed with their own taser. And they just started wailing on him with tasers and punching him, not saying anything, and not asking for his keys, not asking for his wallet. Like, Schiller had literally no idea what was going on. And finally he yelled, "What the fuck do you guys want?" And one of the guys just ominously said, "You." And they took him, threw him in the back of a van, held a gun to his head, and merged back into rush hour traffic. The gang bound Schiller's wrists and legs and wrapped duct tape all around his head, over his eyes and everything, and took his wallet and Rolex. Then they threw a blanket over him. Now, Schiller was deeply, aside from being terrified, deeply, deeply confused. His captors kept yelling about him taking food from babies' mouths while they periodically shocked him with a taser for no functional reason. The van eventually stopped, and Schiller heard one of the men say, "The eagle has landed." The gang had taken Mark Schiller to his former friend and business partner Jorge Delgado's warehouse for some torture. Now that they had Schiller in their possession and the potential for a huge payday, Danny Lugo was back on board and back in charge. So to pull this off, the gang needed some extra help. So they took Steven St. Pierre off the bench, put him back in the game. And pretty immediately, the first thing that happened, Mark Schiller recognized Danny Lugo's distinct Mike Tyson-y voice. And that, compared with what transpired over the next few weeks, Schiller also knew, obviously, Jorge Delgado was behind this insane stupidity.
Right.
So the gang tortured Schiller for a while. They played Russian roulette with him. They burned him with lighters. They tased him, punched him, and chained him to a wall. And then they got down to business. Lugo had written out a bunch of scripts for Schiller to memorize and forced him to rehearse them until they felt he was ready for phone calls. So first they had him call his wife and tell her to leave the family house immediately and take their kids straight to Colombia and not say a word about it to police. So terrified, she did as she was told, and now the Schiller house was empty.
Wait, just one quick thing. Sorry, did I miss it? What's this whole stealing things from babies?
They said because Jorge Delgado's wife is pregnant, so they're like, "Oh, not only did he steal $200,000 from me, he's literally, it's not just a thief stealing from a man, he's stealing from a baby."
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they then made Mark Schiller call all the guys that he did business with and tell this story about how he'd hooked up with this sexy young Cuban chick and was liquidating all his assets and running away into the sunset with her. And people just believed him. They didn't set off any alarms.
Yeah, they're
or
like,
anything.
it's again,
It's
Miami, baby. It's 94. It would be weird if he didn't do that.
So meanwhile, they had Schiller blindfolded with duct tape, signing document after document, like dozens of documents. They had him confirm all the details of his bank accounts and his alarm codes, all of that stuff. And the plan was coming along smooth as silk. The only thing the gang didn't anticipate was that a financial shakedown of this scale would actually take weeks, not days.
Yeah.
There was just way more paperwork involved in stealing someone's life than they expected. So Schiller figured, including Lugo, there were 4 guys watching him. It was obvious the guy they called Boss or Batman, that was obviously Danny Lugo. And the other guys he didn't know. The most sadistic one was Batman's second in command, Robin, later to be revealed as Adrian Doorbal. And then he said the other 2 guys were nicer. They were called Sparrow and Napoleon, later to be revealed as Carl Weeks and Pierce Stevenson. So those guys gave Schiller like food and water and cigarettes. One of them even slipped a maxi pad over the bridge of Schiller's nose to keep the duct tape from cutting into his skin, because his nose, there was a cut on his nose that kept bleeding. Which, when they put the maxi pad on, Batman and Robin thought that was hilarious.
Old tampon face prisoner.
Over time, the gang drained $1.26 million from Schiller's bank accounts in Switzerland and the Cayman Islands. They got $10,000 in cash from his safe. They got all his fine jewelry, thousands in cash, his credit cards, and the deed to his house and his luxury condo. On December 10th, they were done. The gang had sucked every bit of wealth from Mark Schiller's life, and now they were going to kill him. The plan? Get him really, really drunk, put him back in his vehicle, and crash it. Which, I don't know. I guess this was overlooked by doctors and police, but like, he had all these torture marks on his body, right?
Yeah.
Like lighter burns, cuff marks. He actually had a permanent scar from the duct tape cutting into the skin at the bridge of his nose. Plus, he was all emaciated. Like, it doesn't seem like a very well-staged accidental death when they actually look at the body.
Right.
But anyway. Also, plus they wrote a script saying that he'd left Miami with some girl weeks earlier. So why is he like crashing in his car or whatever? Anyway, I feel like this part was extra dumb.
Yeah.
So with his arms chained to the warehouse wall and his entire head wrapped in duct tape, the gang started force feeding Mark Schiller some foul mix of vodka, tequila, and chocolate liquor. And between bouts of puking, Schiller listened as Sparrow tried to make him feel better. He told him this great story about how if he drank the booze, they'd let him free, that Batman had a friend who worked at the airport who would sneak him onto a flight to Colombia, but they had to get Schiller blackout drunk so he couldn't ID Batman's airport contact after he landed. So that's
okay, great.
And Mark Schiller was like, oh, obviously I'm going to die, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what their plan is.
Terrifying, man.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's not delivering me back to my family in Colombia. And he actually did know they were going to kill him even before they started force feeding him liquor. On one of his last calls, the gang forced him to tell his lawyer that he was giving Jorge Delgado power of attorney. So the cat was out of the bag. He knew that they knew that he knew who was behind the kidnapping. Yeah. And they were definitely planning on eliminating him.
Yeah.
So December 15th was the designated murder day. Hours before midnight, Batman fed Schiller a pile of sleeping pills and a jug of liquor. And they kept pumping him full of liquor until he passed out. In the wee hours of the morning on the 16th, the gang drove Schiller back to the Schlotzskys where this all started. They stopped a few blocks away, put an unconscious Schiller in the driver's seat of his vehicle, and then aimed it at a utility pole. Now, Danny Lugo jumped in the passenger seat with another brilliant plan. Lugo hit the gas pedal himself, and then right before the crash, Lugo leapt out of the car, sending Schiller alone, rocketing towards death. But surprise, it didn't work. Like, of course it didn't work. So they go to check on him. You know, Schiller's totally still alive, completely unconscious, but alive.
Yeah. It reminds me of that, remember in that like episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where they think they can blow up that car with a grenade? Do you remember that?
No.
So they just like poof, and they're just like, "What? That's what a grenade is?" You know, it's like they're just like, oh man, he'll be going like 45 into this pole.
I mean, it's like, to me, I'm like, obviously they probably can't go fast enough to kill him, because then Lugo would die jumping out of the car.
Yeah,
like,
right.
How fast,
Exactly.
How fast were they actually going?
Just like a thud. They're like, "Oh, damn it."
That sucks. So then Danny Lugo went on to plan B, a more blunt plan. He poured gasoline all over Schiller and lit him on fire. Bless you.
Thanks.
And then the gang piled into Lugo's Toyota Camry and drove away. But as they were driving away, guess what? In the rearview mirror, they saw drunken Mark Schiller open his door and get out of the burning vehicle. So these trashy bodybuilders, Lugo and Doorball, started laughing. And the B squad, they just start panicking. Carl Weeks was the getaway driver, so Lugo, a.k.a. Batman, screamed at him to run Schiller over with the Camry. But between Weeks' panic and Schiller drunkenly bobbing and weaving, Carl Weeks kept missing Schiller with the car. Now, dawn was breaking. Schiller's car was engulfed in roaring flames, and between yelling, laughing, and crashing Schiller's car, they've been making an obscene amount of noise. So finally, Carl Weeks, he nails Schiller. He hits him. He goes up over the roof of the car, and under Lugo's direction, Carl Weeks backs up and he drives over Schiller's body. Lugo is screaming at Carl to run the body over one more time for good measure when the gang saw headlights approaching. So afraid they'd get caught, the gang screeched off into the night in the Toyota Camry, leaving Schiller behind on the concrete next to his burning vehicle. Now, Jorge Delgado was so annoyed when the gang told him what happened. Jorge already thought Danny Lugo's plan to murder Schiller was super goofy and wouldn't work. He just thought they should kill him and dump him somewhere. Like, what was the need for all the theatrics? But Jorge Delgado was overruled by the gang, and the gang went with the drunken fake car accident plan. So now Jorge Delgado knew in his bones that this thing had gone really, really sideways, and he was sure that Schiller was still alive. So the Sun Gym gang, they sat around nervously digging through newspapers, hoping to find an announcement of a fatal crash near the Schlotzskys, an obituary, anything. They called area hospitals, they called the morgue, but Schiller just seemed to have disappeared. Now, originally, Mark Schiller had been admitted to the hospital as a John Doe, but when he woke up from his surgeries, he was able to speak. The hospital registered him then under his real name. And that's how the gang finally found him. And it was time yet again for a brilliant plan.
Murder him in the hospital.
They could stage a diversionary fist fight at the hospital while Adrian Doorball snuck into Schiller's room and strangled him to death. And just by the way, Adrian Doorball was very constantly offering to strangle Mark Schiller to death. He was just really into that idea.
He'd be really into it.
Also, they could just shoot everyone in Schiller's room and all the witnesses and run away. So those were like the two options they were thinking of. Ultimately, they decided no plan was the best plan. They just go to the hospital, find Schiller, and just let the murder unfold naturally.
So wait, how long did they have him in this warehouse? They had him gone for a month with no police looking for him, no missing persons. I mean, I'm never a fan of murdering someone, but I can't, that's insane.
It's insane. Well, I guess because between sending his family to Colombia and having them not contact police, and then him reading these scripts to every single person he knew.
It was actually a pretty good plan.
That's what I'm saying.
And they actually probably could have just killed him and disappeared the body and at least gotten like a crazy, I don't know, figured out a way to frame some hot young Cuban girl or something.
That's
like,
Jorge,
I don't know.
Jorge Delgado was like, dude, just kill him and dump the body. And who cares? And basically Danny Lugo felt like if they didn't have a body and an obvious cause of death, that everything could get, all the money and assets could get caught up in some sort of like thing, and they couldn't access it right away. So he wanted the body to be found immediately. And so he thought the best way to do it was like an unquestionable, like this guy flamed out in his middle age and got drunk and crashed into a pole. So he thought that's the quickest way we'll get the money.
But also it seems like, so they don't actually have the money because it takes a long time for those transfers to happen. So then just like keep him alive. If no one's looking for him, keep him alive, and then be like, oh yeah, my new job is, for 40 hours a week, I go and make sure this guy that we have chained up doesn't run away, and we rotate on prisoner duty. And besides that, we now have millions of dollars to spend.
I mean, they honestly had most of the money. They just wanted the house and like the properties. They didn't want to get those. Like they just were like, oh, has a suspicious death that'll flag it. Anyway, I mean, I get what you're saying, but
yeah,
it's half brilliant, half stupid, right?
No, yeah, I mean, and it's all stupid. It's literally 100% stupid. But it seemed like their stupidity was working in their favor there for
a minute.
For a month. That's a long time.
Yeah.
To not have people searching for him or...
No, they kind of almost pulled it off. It was just this last dramatic thing that they did that was just like, what?
Yeah.
So anyway, their plan was find Schiller in the hospital, let the murder unfold naturally. The ragtag Mr. T looking gang got into the hospital. They even got into the wing where Schiller was staying.
Mr. T looking gang.
They're just kind of like all muscles and
the
like
A-team.
Change. Mr. T
is in the A-team.
Oh, so I should say that. The A-team looking gang?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
I think Mr. T works. Buff tank tops, chains.
the flat tops and stuff.
And no costumes, no effort to hide their identity. Okay. Just like going through the hospital being like, excuse me, right? So they even got into Schiller's wing where he was staying, but they got super lost. And then as they got lost, they started getting paranoid that people were going to start being like, why are you here? So they ended up retreating out of the hospital. And then they weren't going to give up, right? It was back to the spy shop to buy more gear. And this time they were going to show up in scrubs rather than muscle tees so they could blend in more easily. Okay. So the next morning, the gang got ready to go back to Jackson Memorial with their new costumes. But when they called the hospital just to check in on Schiller, they found Mark Schiller was gone. He'd checked out against medical advice, still in critical condition, and disappeared. So while the gang sat stunned, sitting in Lugo's quote unquote office in their fake nurses' costumes, Mark Schiller was on an air ambulance headed to his sister's house in New York. And we'll pick up there next week with pretend CIA agents, a Hungarian phone sex empire, mayhem, muscles, and a double murder.
Damn. All right. This is good. Good setup. And if you need part 2 right here, right now, you can access it through patreon.com/murielsmurders or through our Spotify exclusive. You can subscribe and support the show and get immediate access to part 2.
And you know you're hungry for it. Ho, ho, ho!
All right. We love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Muriel did all of the research. She did the writing. She did the hosting. I was mean to her. Then I was nice to her. I was like kind of just like I took what could be considered a merry-go-round and turned it into a roller coaster.
Wow. Thank you, Nick.
And you guys did the listening, and we love you. And definitely find us on social media. Oh, go to you. Actually, would you guys subscribe to us on YouTube? Give videos likes, and you can write comments on there. Full disclosure, literally don't read the comments on YouTube, meaning we don't, because people can be mean.
Or YouTube is real crazy.
YouTube's pretty crazy with the comments, so we don't read them. But if you write something at all on there, it's good for the show. So please do it. But if you want us to read nice things, DM us or on a social media platform or through Patreon. That's a great way. And you can join Patreon for free. You don't get like access to the exclusive content, but it's a good way to stay in contact with us. What else?
That's it.
Go to our website.
This
okay.
is a very long episode. Sorry.
Don't get mad at me because I'm doing a normal outro and you're like, hurry it up. Freaking hour and 19 minutes. Maybe it didn't even work. Okay. And goodbye.